Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone. And thank you. And welcome to the regular scheduled Tabortown Council meeting for January 13th, 2025. I call the meeting to order, please, and ask for the adoption of the agenda. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the agenda as amended to allow for the opportunity to undertake closed session items prior to the timing of delegations at 5 p.m.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 3, public hearings. There are none. Item 4, adoption minutes. Item 4.1, minutes of the regular meeting of the council, December 16th, 2024. Mr. Tebow.
Administration has nothing to add regarding the minutes. Back over to council.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Someone prepared to make that motion? Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on December 16th, 2024 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 5, business horizon. There are none. Item 6, bylaws. Item 6.1, proposed procedural bylaw 1-2025. Mr. Tebow.
So administration did an update to the procedural bylaw. We're looking for all 4 of the readings tonight. The procedural bylaw came in part by a request from Councillor Firth. There was the electronic communications portion for the public hearing. That did get worked into the document. There was no changes to the actual order of the agenda at this time. And so both bylaws are there, highlighted the updated procedural bylaw 1-2025. And if council had any questions, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Any questions or concerns? All right, seeing none, someone prepared to make the first required motion. Councilor McLean.
Yes.
Pretty much a tie.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives first reading to the proposed procedural bylaw 1-2025 at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the second required motion, Councillor Firth.
Thank you. And I just wanted to make a comment about, I had some concern from some members of the public about the ability to participate in public hearings. And I know we discussed this at a previous meeting, but I think with the ability to participate electronically and the ability also to provide feedback in writing, that we have allowed people or the public to have their say in a variety of ways without mucking with the order of the agenda. So I appreciate that, and thank you to administration for all their work and research on that. And now I'm prepared to make the second motion.
All right, very well.
I move that council give second reading to the proposed procedural bylaw 1-2025 at this meeting.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Someone prepared to make the third required motion. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make the motion that council unanimously agrees to proceed to third and final reading to the proposed procedural bylaw 1-2025 at this meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Councillor Renford, prepared to make the fourth required motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully this virtual stuff gets a public, hopefully more people do it. You know, if they were hoping to do it, because the more public, the better. But yeah, the council gives the third and final reading to the proposal procedural bylaw 1-2025 at this meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to action items. Item 7.1, utility reduction requests. Mr. Tebow.
So council discussion has been asked to happen. It looks like we have Ms. Donna Wise up here to field any questions and potentially provide some information for council.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wise, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
We have a request for utility reduction. I'll leave it in your hands unless you have questions.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
I do have a question. Thank you. I was wondering if this line break was on the owner's property or if it was, there's no specifics
I'm assuming
given.
it was or else, I mean, you guys would know where it was on their property? Yeah. So it is on their property.
Okay, just, I guess a clarification question. Did we not do something similar last year like this? A similar case scenario? Did we not? Is that?
I think
Tebow?
there was some similar water usage request that's come through that council deliberated. I think council
We-
has
and we
gone
waived to
both
some
ways
degree.
on
Okay.
these decisions. So
Yeah,
yes, we've seen something like this before.
okay,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
had two, I think, last year. One
Two.
was approved and one was not, so.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I have considerable sympathy for this particular person. If you read the background on it, of course, then you know why, in a sense. Also that your sprinkler line breaks in the backyard. That's what happened from what I'm reading. I think we should write off most of it. I don't think we should write the whole thing off because there is a use, normal use. I don't know what the normal use is, 15 cubic meters, but probably. Oh. It is on it, is
Okay.
it?
That's what I read, yeah, I think so.
Well, if you add 375 and 372, you get 748, don't you?
Well, that's the additional.
So that's just the
number,
additional.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a bad thing to happen. It happens. But I'm prepared to suggest to council that perhaps we split the bill. Let this person pay for the water use, but we'll take away this $372.60 for the sewer charges. So with that, I'm prepared to make a motion that council directs administration to reduce the utility count 363,400.001 in the amount of $372.60 for the sewer charges.
All right, thank you. Just a question, and further to what Councillor Beckner was saying, it's, you have to feel for somebody in this situation as far as unforeseen and taking the brunt of that particular unforeseen scenario. And so to me, covering the whole cost is not unreasonable. It's just it's a bad break, and if you read the content in the ask, I think it's more than reasonable to ask for that. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I did have this happen to me years ago, and it is a hardship to the family when all of a sudden you have this big looming bill coming from, some type of leak or whatever. So I sympathize with this citizen, and I would be prepared to, or request a friendly amendment of covering the whole amount, the $748.44 to
I would
Councillor
also
Barone.
ask support for that amendment to Councillor Bruin. Councillor Bruin?
I thank you, but there would be the normal monthly use of water.
Yeah. This is all additional, both sewer and water. That's what,
Okay,
No,
no,
I
I see
didn't-
what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I'd take your friendly amendment.
all right, thank you. We do have a friendly amendment on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. On to item 7.2, response to standing item 295-2024, Mr. Tebow.
We'll have Mr. Egan come forward. This is a response to, I believe it was your request, Mr. Mayor. So Chris will go through the information, and council has any questions, then feel free.
All right, thank you, Mr. Egan. Raman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. I've brought our subject matter expert, Mr. Leachy, who administers this program at a detailed level for Public Works and who was instrumental in crafting this response. But this is a response to standing item Resolution 295 in 2024 regarding the reviewing whether administration could look into the installation of asphalt and concrete. In addition to the work that we do from a maintenance perspective. So Public Works is, our major focus is maintenance. And that's what we're staffed and equipped for. with the machinery that we've got. And you'll see that in the document, Raman indicates that there's some standard amounts that we carry in our operating budget. And those are for addressing things like digging up underground services when there's a leak, either on our side of the valve or on a customer side of the valve, where we do the work, and sometimes we renew the line because it's a 30-year-old line, things like that, which is really replacing existing rather than building new. We also will do concrete grinding if there's tripping hazards on sidewalks, and sometimes replacing panels when it's too severe and too extreme. But those are different from the capital program that we bring to council during the capital budget deliberations that typically happen biannually, but we've added some to the 2025 budget that you just approved, $250,000 for each of those. So the information you've got in this RFD is pretty high level, but it articulates that in order for Public Works to move from a purely maintenance and operations stance to a capital project or capital works initiative, we would have to buy a fair amount of equipment that's unique to these particular types of activities. And we would also have to hire staff. And then depending on if council wanted us to look at doing some of this, we would also add operating costs annually for things like actual asphalt and concrete, fuel for the machinery, repairs, those kind of things. And so what you see in this RFD are our estimates at the capital requirements and the staffing requirements, which would be, they're not quite capital, but they'd be ongoing in order to provide that service. What we didn't articulate in here are some of the softer issues. So for example, when we go out through a capital process approved by council, we hire a contractor, they provide us a 2-year warranty, for example. And so if there are issues with defective workmanship or defective materials, then Raman will call the contractor and they come back free of charge and do those replacements. Those would be the type of things we take responsibility for if we were actually in that business. The only other piece of information, we've budgeted or given you prices of equipment, and they generally reflect the capital value of that equipment. Whether you lease it or rent it, those are usually more expensive options than, cash is king, and when you purchase things, that's the lowest total cost of ownership if it's spread over a period of time. Typically, the lifespan of equipment is a little longer than the amortization period that you see John do in the actual financial statements, but it is a long period of time, and so this gives you an order of magnitude, I guess, of what we'd be looking at. And then if council was interested in pursuing this a little farther, then what we'd suggest, and we don't have it in this document, but the next logical step would be to do a proper business case analysis, like you'd see a private company do, to understand what the real costs would be across the board and what the implications would be. We love to do this kind of work. However, sometimes it's not. It's advantageous to use contractors, especially for in areas where there's specialty experience required in order to get a good product. There's lots of training and experience required in the crews in order to actually produce a good product, and certifications, things like that. Materials agreements where buying power is a issue. The people who have the asphalt plants are the people we contract with. So we probably wouldn't get their prices for the actual materials, but it can all be done, and we can definitely figure out a way to do it if that is council's wish. So this is the kind of the 100,000 foot level to see if council has an appetite to pursue this any farther.
All right, thank you, Mr. Egan. Well, to start with, first of all, my initial intent was to try to offset. This is way more involved. I thank you for your information, your input, but that's way more involved than I was expecting or asking for. But I guess better to have more information than not enough, kind of thing. And I appreciate that as well. But mainly because of the high demand that all of us as council members and our administration get in the public from the road repairs and asphalt requirements need to be done. And as everybody's aware, the high increase of asphalt install and paying for labor attached to that. So that was my thinking and trying to help out our general public and be able to do more our end. And I know we've done that at least in one case several years ago with the path I explained. That was done for about a third of the cost for that 400 meters worth of path from the cemetery down to the MD boundary. And that was part of the thinking there, that we do get this asked quite a lot. And again, I don't know, like that's quite involved. I would agree that those kind of purchases are not practical in this day and age. But if you look at it from the Lethbridge perspective, we're 1/10 the size of Lethbridge roughly. And so I know, confirmed with Mr. Tebow, they've had their paving crew for I don't know how many years, but a number of years, right? So that was kind of my thinking. We had something 1/10 the size or capability of Lethbridge that Lethbridge has, and that would help us offset some of these exorbitant costs we get from our contractor requirements there, and that we're only able to do so much repair work any given year, and hopefully be able to do more. That was sort of my thinking and intent from the public's input on that topic as well. So, Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I can appreciate your comments because most of the concerns from the citizens are the caretaking of our sidewalks and our streets. So most of the comments that I see here are long-standing budget of, and I'd like to know how long we've had the budget of $160,000 for asphalt, and also how long we've had the long-standing budget of $30,000 for the concrete. And I'm not sure if you can do that, give that today, but that would be my question I would like to ask from administration.
I've been here about 10 years now, and this being 160 cents. Yeah, and we just raised it a little bit to 180, but this is just for asphalt patching. This is just, as I indicated, when the guys go out and dig a hole, fix the water or sewer, and then they fill it back up. The next year we come back and we fix it. And that's the asphalt patching program. The main cause, it's the mill and overlay. That's biannual. And that one is right now at $250. So if you want to do, I would do more with that.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sorensen. Yes.
So that 250, then when was the last time that has been increased? Like, I know we're adding it, so it used to be biannual, and now we've done it. Now for 2025, we're doing it for 2 consistent years. Is this the first time we've done that for some time?
The 250, it was consistent throughout the years. And the concrete was $450. And concrete was dropped a couple of years ago. But we have added another year. It was a biannual, but we have done yearly now. So I believe it should be kind of equal.
We're caught up.
That's
We're
right.
caught up with the concrete work then?
We're never caught up.
I wanted that on record.
We're never caught up with the concrete work. Concrete work, we have a high water in town of Taber. And we tried multiple things, and finally we came out with something that would work for town of Taber, and putting fiber in the concrete, and it works great. So now we are are going ahead with it and it works great.
Okay.
But again, that's up to you where you want to put your standard. And if you want to raise it, we can raise it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I know we're at the mercy of Mother Nature, depending on any given year, right, on what occurs, what wasn't a problem last year now becomes a problem this coming spring, correct? Depending on what kind of year we have. So, I don't know, it seems to me that there needs to be more done in that regard, and that's what I say to reiterate part of my intent to assist that going forward for being more self-sufficient from the town of Tabor itself. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question about, with our high water table, can we build our roads up any higher than what they actually are, or no? I'm a layman, I don't know anything about that, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, the issue that the water table causes is frost heave. And so typically it's a very expensive and difficult issue to either, most times places will use sand and well points and try and lower the water table to get it below the frost zone if they're trying to do that, but it's very expensive. When Raman is putting in water lines, and it's intermittent through town, certain spots in town have a higher water table than others. And so he's putting in water pipe, which is dug deep in the ground. Often the contractors are dewatering just so that they can work in the hole, and then they fill it in, and then the water table. So it's very difficult to deal with and very, very expensive. So typically the approach that we're taking, which is to do fiber reinforced concrete, which allows it to withstand that a little bit better, bridge gaps, things like that, then that's a cost-effective way of dealing with it. The other thing I might mention is just to be clear, the mill and overlay, what we describe as that in this report, as the biannual effort, that's the part that renews the roads. And that you see, it was on 50th the last 2 years, we've done sections. Whereas the patching is really going back and fixing those holes that we dug. Raman lets them settle for a year. We put a temporary cold patch asphalt in them to overwinter. They settle for a year, and then he brings in a contractor. We dig those back out, recompact, and renew the asphalt so that they look like, and it performs like the actual original road surface. But I think the mill and overlay, that capital, if you increase the dollars in there, you'll get more linear meters of roadway done in that. We plan on coming to answer Councillor Sorensen's asset management question, and we're using actually the linear assets of roads and concrete as the sample subset of that. So there'll be some information that comes at the next council meeting, and also helps provide a process to answer the other question you had, are we doing enough? There's a risk question that we need answered from council, and then with the underlying information, we can then start to build a 10-year plan that meets that requirement, but also has a cost associated with it that is, of course, balancing things.
All right, thank you. Councilor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the presentation, Chris, and thanks for the background work, Raman. This is probably worthwhile exercise, and that's, from my viewpoint, that's all it is. The discussion regarding what we should be doing is related, but it's separate. What we should be doing is increasing our concrete repair and asphalt repair. No question, I've said that many times, but that's a budgetary discussion that is related but not connected with this, I don't think. So having said all that, I'm prepared to make a motion.
All right, very well.
And where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, Mr. Mayor. Council directs administration to continue to contract out asphalt paving and capital concrete replacements and increase the budget amounts due to rising costs of materials.
All right, thank you. Councilor Sorensen? Oh, okay, very well. All right, thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, on to item 7.3, information for council. Mr. Tebow.
We'll get Miss Amy Allred to come up first for the first information item. Or actually, no, I guess that wasn't Amy that built that, sorry. I'm asking someone to come up who's looking at me funny. So the first information item, I can just speak to that. So we're doing our second annual State of the Region address. And so this is our initial poster. I think we had a similar poster last year. So we're recognizing the date and the time and the location. And there'll be some more information to follow. Administration is still waiting for some information back on all the invitees that we have coming. And I believe that we do an updated version of this once we have the information back, which also would include some additional pictures like we had last year of the councils and all that sort of stuff. So that's information item number 1. Was there any questions around that from anyone?
Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Mr. Tebow. If the public wants to attend this, are we asking them to RSVP or people can just show up?
So public can just show up. We have the RSVPs for the invitees of the region that we're kind of waiting on, but yeah, it's open to all the public.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Councillor Sorensen.
Just because we discussed it earlier on, will this be televised or live streamed or anything?
There was no intention to televise anything or live stream anything unless council decides that they'd like to do that. We did make a copy of the program last year and put it on, I think Chris Wynn put it on a memory stick for us or something like that. No one has asked for it over the course of the last year, so we didn't intend on doing the same sort of thing, but we certainly could if council wishes.
Yeah, just to confirm that, do we not have that available on our website to view also? Like you say, Chris Wynn did something for it, but did we not have it on our website to view that? I believe we did.
I don't recall if we put it up on the website. I don't believe it was live.
No, it wasn't live. No.
There
That's
might have
correct.
been, I'm not sure if there was a link to YouTube or not. I'd have to go back and look and see. I don't recall if there was or wasn't. I know it was put on
Okay.
a memory stick for sure.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
But I can check on that.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Councillor Sorensen.
Again, I just think there's value in the public being able to look at it in a future date also. So if that's something that can be available, then I would be in favor of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going from memory, but I'm sure we had that available, just to clarify from my recollection. on that.
Okay, I'll check that out before, because we don't have another council meeting before this one, so
Right,
I'll
right.
just put an email together and send it out to council.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended last year's regional state of the area, I guess. I thought many of the questions that were there were totally unrelated to our duties as councillors and governors in the Southern Alberta region. I think there was a lot of discussion about things that are non-consequential. And I just hope that if we're going to do it again this year, of course, but that we have a little better handle on pertinent information and pertinent questions and pertinent answers to things that really matter to our area. We had one person that got up and spoke for half an hour about cowboy poetry, for heaven's sake.
Yep, I do recall that, actually. Thank you, Councillor Beckering. All right, let's get that covered, I guess, and moving on to the next item. Mr.
Yeah, so
Tebow.
secondly, we have, I'll ask Mr. Egan to come forward and just go through this information item presentation for council. Leave it open to any questions, and then I'll have a comment myself at the end.
All right, thank you, Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So we just wanted to bring forward some information for Council on the development permit numbers that we had for last year, so that in case you're questioned around town, that you have some of this information and the relative strength, I guess, of activity in the town in comparison. And so on that point, last year was the best year we've had on record. It was over 70% better than the average of the 3 best years, which were 21, 22, and 23. And you'll see that reflected in several of the graphs. And so there's information in here that you might find interesting and informative. And then the second piece of, I wanted to recognize just the outstanding work that was done in our planning and engineering offices. So planning gets the development permits and has to review those, interact with proponents, help them prepare and submit the information that they need, and then follows up. And the engineering department, which is really Raman, it sounds like a big thing. Raman, mostly Raman. This is 85-90% Selena and 85 or 90% Raman, who do the actual work at the coal face to get this this volume of activity through our system. And so they did outstanding work last year in processing all this information. And Selena, in fact, did an exceptional job considering her planning assistant was on maternity leave, and we had 2 failed searches for planning managers, and we're actually shifting gears on that now. So Selena bore the brunt of this exceptionally high workload by herself, and she's done it without a peep of complaint and hardly an issue that has arisen from the people and the clients that use the system. And I think that was borne out with the review and the study, the survey that we did a little bit earlier and presented that information to council. So just wanted to leave you with that. We can also answer any specific questions you have, but really just an information item and a status, some pertinent information for council.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mr. Egan, for that explanation, information, and/or thank you so much, Selena, Raman, and/or Amy, for all your work and all the many efforts involved. And I know it's been a busy year for sure, and I don't expect 2025 is going to be any different. In fact, maybe another record year as a result. So thank you all so much for your many efforts as well. Mr. Thibault.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I just wanted to point out that we were talking about some specific people here today, but 2024 put a lot of extra activity on every department and on every employee. So there's 125 plus employees out there, and I just wanted to recognize that everyone contributed in their own way, in their own part. That activity affects the entire organization. So kudos to the group of people. I know that I sit up here and be the face of that, and it certainly is not me by myself who've accomplished this. Everyone else has contributed in every department, whether they're directly related to this report or not. That activity happens across the organization. So I'd just like to thank everyone.
All right, well, thank you again so much for all the many contributions, too many to name entirely, but for anybody involved, that's great for the town of Taber and area as well. So thank you. All right, any specific questions, anybody? All right, thank you once again. Mr. Thibault, or Councillor Sorensen?
I guess I'll have the last word. I think just my fellow council members have really put forward some really good, the wording, the property tax incentive, the housing incentive, and we really hopefully see the benefits of that, and our community is growing. So I just want to thank again everybody for helping us, the administration, and it seems like some of our hard work is maybe showing, and that's great news.
Absolutely, thank you. Right, Mr. Thibault.
That was the end of the information for council. Unless there was any more questions, we'd be moving on to the next item.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 7.4, standing item council requests. Mr. Thibault.
Okay, so the next item is, we're down to 2 on this. The investigation of the life expectancy, resolution 266 for Councillor Sorensen, which was mentioned we should see something at the next council meeting in regards to that. We did discuss the asphalt and concrete replacement tonight, and there'll be some changes to that based on the motion that was made. We completed the public hearing bit of the procedural bylaw tonight and some previous comments around Councillor Firth's resolution 370, and 372 was taken care of last time, considered complete. So I will turn it back over to council and eagerly await any additional standing items.
All right, thank you. Any new standing item council requests? Counselor Sorensen?
Not a request, but I was just wondering if there's any information on the trout pond, and we've been getting some emails and some verbal conversations of the health of the fish, how many fish are in the lake, and the perch. Are they invasive? Is there something that we can be done to keep the numbers down? So maybe Mr. Tebow?
I do have a bit of information on that. So Mayor and I discussed that a little bit, and we've had previous discussions with the Recreation Department. So I think the email you're referring to went out to all of council. So last year, we had some discussions with, I can't remember if it's Fish and Wildlife, or I think that's the agency that looks after things.
Alberta Conservation.
Conservation, correct. And there was conversations going back and forth around the perch. They indicated that they're not something that they believe is eating away at the trout or something like that. They're a little more hardy than trout in warmer water, I believe they mentioned. There was a recommendation to put in a different kind of trout, and I can't remember the species. Right now, I think we get steelhead. And Mayor, do you remember was that a
I believe it's a silverhead steelhead currently that has been stocked. Now, it was asked for a tiger trout, did you say?
Oh, that's right, yep.
Tiger trout was asked or suggested, yeah. So, and that's
with
it.
rainbow
I
trout.
think Alberta Conservation had some information about that tiger trout possibility. And I
Yeah.
believe they're looking to do some kind of evaluation this spring, if that wasn't accurate.
Yeah, so going back
accounts.
in the emails, we had arranged last year in March, and they indicated that they could come and do a health and wellness check this year on the pond. So we're expecting that to happen in the spring. And then there'll be some further options or recommendations through them. So that's what we know about that. I know it seems like an awful long time, especially to the people that are making the requests. We are kind of we don't have any specialists like that ourselves, so we're kind of at the mercy of the conservation folks, and that's the timeline they gave us was this year. It was almost like a year wait to have them come and perform
Yeah, it
this
just seems
exercise.
strange. There's no doubt there's a lot of perch, but the fishermen that I've spoken to indicate they haven't caught a trout in 2 or 3 years. And lots of perch. Perch are readily available. And somebody, a local resident, posted a, what do you call it, the fish camera, whatever, post here just this last week, and that's all that's in the photo is perch. And he also didn't apparently have any luck with trout. So, I don't know, as I understand, I don't think they're a predatory fish, and they're smaller, so, but I think we've had somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 per year of the trout stocked, right? That are in that 8 ounce to 1 pound range, so they're basically all bigger than the perch. So I don't know if that's problematic or not, but Councillor Sorensen, you have some fishing expertise yourself, I believe.
Well, my father is a fisherman, and he didn't have any boys, so us 2 girls had to fill in. But I think that perhaps the perch eat the same food as the trout, so maybe they're
Okay,
just
right.
eating that. So an update next time the Alberta Conservation is here would be great, and I'd appreciate that.
All right, yes, thank you. Anything else on that particular note? Councillor Bruin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Had the occasion of walking on the new sidewalk we put on 50th Street in front of Bonnie's Vision and that today, and I just about turfed it. Seems like the new concrete they've put there, we have pools in it. It doesn't drain off. I was wondering if perhaps we could have staff look at that to see. I thought I heard we have a 2-year warranty or something on that concrete. And I noticed it is got a bit of a swell in it and water is collecting on the sidewalk there.
Yep, we can take that away.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other new standing item council requests? See none whatsoever. All right. We are on to delegations next for 5 o'clock, so I guess we can at least deal with one closed session item, I believe. So somebody prepared to make a motion to go into closed session, please. Councillor Becker, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, if we could reconvene the meeting, please. And on to our delegation for a STARS presentation, Mr. Tebow.
So we have Jackie Seeley here, who's going to come up and run through a PowerPoint presentation for council's information. So
All right,
come on up, Jackie.
thank you. Good evening, Jackie, welcome. Sure.
If I can move it to slideshow, here we go. From beginning.
We'll try that.
Enable.
Yeah, then maybe do that first. Yep. Oh, it's not letting you? Oh. Is it behind the screen or something?
He's got the magic touch.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I'll move this a little closer. Okay, well, first and foremost, very nice to come back to the town of Taber. I've really enjoyed getting to know your community over the last year since I started this role with STARS, and you guys do things up right. The Corn Fest was amazing and so many other things. So I've enjoyed being part of your community.
All right, thank you, Jackie.
Yeah. This year, STARS will be celebrating 40 years of serving Albertans. As we continue to provide the highest level of critical care, our first mission was to Lethbridge in 1985. December 1st is the official day. But you'll see lots of advertising and promotion of our 40th anniversary this year. So we're pretty excited about that.
Your first mission was to Lethbridge?
Very first mission to Lethbridge, December 1st, 1985, for a critically ill newborn. Yeah. And from one base now to 6 bases across Western Canada. And during all of this time, we've managed to remain a charitable organization operating at no cost to the patient. Thanks to our many donors, and thanks to the town of Taber for joining the municipal initiative to provide that sustainability for STARS. We're happy to report back that we did secure another 10-year service agreement with our largest donor, Alberta Health Services. So this is at the $15 million per year in block funding, the same amount that we've been receiving since 2021. After that, we still must fundraise the remaining 56% of our operating budget in Alberta alone. So that is close to $19 million. Again, the STARS lottery was just launched. So you're welcome to go to stars.ca and buy your tickets there. Please also remember to come down to Lethbridge and check out the Dream Home there. That'll be opening soon. That is our largest fundraiser. It almost pays for one base in Alberta, bringing over $10 million. So we're very thankful for that. And also the corporate business individual support, community-driven fundraisers like your Taber Charity Auction. We really appreciate that. And this year is the big celebration, I believe the 30th. And so, and then of course, the municipal initiative that provides sustainability for STARS. This is our year in review up to the end of March of last year, our fiscal year. So I'm not going to review this whole thing. If you have further questions, you can ask me afterwards. But our emergency link center, our dispatch center, increased from 36,000 missions per year to over 37,000, pardon me, not missions, I mean emergency requests. And then missions increased from over 3,300 to over 3,900. So over 500 more missions across our 6 bases in Western Canada. And then our newly assessed base cost is now $11.4 million, up from the $10 million that it was previously at. So it's we're very grateful for the new partnerships that we continue to build across the province to help us sustain this. The types of mission we fly for mostly is on the right-hand side there, you'll see that vehicle incidents is number 1. And after that, it's cardiac, and then a little bit of everything else there. So just to give you an idea. This is our map of Alberta and northeastern BC to show the different levels of municipal support. So first of all, I'll just share that we've had a number of municipalities join the program in the last year. Just to speak of here in your area, yourselves, thank you so much. And of course, the MD of Tabor also joined the initiative, as well as the village of Barnwell. And we were recently at Vauxhall with a request and really enjoyed being at that council as well. The town of McGrath, town of Fort McLeod, Nobleford, Champion, and a few other ones, as well as the city of Brooks being our first city in southern Alberta to join the municipal initiative. So looking at this map, those shown in the light blue are under the $2 per capita support. Some of these also have community initiatives fundraisers taking place. And then the sea of blue across the map, this is from $2 per capita, anywhere up to $90 per capita. Many of these are on a fixed rate of support or have stars on a standing motion in their budget. Then we have the green across the map for our regional leaders. So these are leaders that are contributing at a much higher rate of support. The bigger regions and MDs and counties where they've had logo unveiling when they've reached 500,000 in cumulative giving. So we've honored them with a logo on one of our helicopters for that. As well as some regional partnerships. So here in southern Alberta, Wheatland County is our full regional partnership. MD of Ranchland is on there. They're the only municipality in that area. So of course they're their regional, they're all inclusive. And here in Tabor, you're just one municipality away from being a full regional partnership. And then you guys would have a red box around your county as well. There's still a few non-supporters, but we're very thankful for having over 90% of Alberta rural municipalities on board. It really is a united effort to keep stars in the air. Okay, let's have a drink of water. Pardon me. I'm no longer contagious, which is good. Okay, so here are your stats up to the end of October. As you can see, over the last 5 years to date, 63 missions flown. So on average, 12 missions per year, 1 mission every month.
There's nothing worse than that nagging cough when you're trying to speak. So have some water and take your time, because I know the feeling.
Okay, so on average 12 missions per year, and a number of them from your Tabor Hospital, where I believe I explained last year where the STARS transport physician from the Emergency Link Center will dispatch based on the best mode of transport and availability for that client. So the patient, or for that patient, they may be picked up by ground ambulance or brought in by Halo, and then while STARS is coming from Calgary. So there's a very wide variety of ways that the patient may be provided critical care and a different mode of transport. Your postal code project. Jeez, I'm really sorry. It wasn't this bad earlier. All right, your postal code project, just to update on that. Read this a little bit better here. So, since 2010, 111 Tabor residents have been flown by STARS. we accessed, listed by the communities on the left-hand side, postal code information going back to 2010 for each patient. So this is where they lived at the time they were flown by STARS. And interestingly, on the right-hand side, the red dots show where they were actually located at the time they needed STARS. So accidents and injury don't only happen when we're close to home. They happen when we're traveling for work, visiting family, or on vacation. So of the total residents from the entire county that were flown, that would be 146. 89 were picked up in Tabor, and 59 residents were flown from 16 other locations across 2 provinces. So you can see the communities listed below of where they were actually picked up at. Kind of interesting. This shows a little more detail to what I was talking about earlier. This is an example of a mission log on an average day at STARS. For example, on this day, 18 different types of mission were recorded. So on average, we're averaging 11 missions per day. And to date, we've flown over 60,000 missions. Our crews?
A helicopter taking off every hour.
Well, not always every hour, but
But yeah, that's amazing.
in some cases, we might dispatch Calgary and Winnipeg within a couple minutes of each other, or, you know, sometimes it might be 6 hours and nothing happens, and then a few missions occur. So this list, I just wanted to point out a couple of things here. For example, mission number 3, this is where the STARS team actually flew the NICU team out to where a critically ill newborn was. They provided critical care on site, and then the team went with the newborn by ground to the hospital. So there's different cases where the patient may not be able to be in the helicopter due to pressure changes or things like that. Mission number 6, this was a rollover incident where the mission was actually canceled. After the STARS transport physician gained further information, transport was not required. Number 7, this is where there was a workshop explosion and the patient, like basically STARS was dispatched, but then it was determined that the best mode of transport for the patient was by ground. And then also mission number 10 was a motor vehicle collision where STARS flew out to the patient, but then our crew member went with that patient by ground to the hospital. So that's just an example of what a day in the life at STARS through the Emergency Link Center looks like as it relates to mission dispatch. So STARS is an innovator. Last year we shared with you that we do have night vision goggle capability for over 20 years now, and also carrying universal blood on board for over 4 years now. Well, in addition to that, as we continue to evolve to provide the highest level of critical care to patients, a new blood product was actually piloted in Saskatchewan, and then it was brought to Alberta in October of 2023. So this blood product is called fibrinogen, and basically what it does is helps to clot the blood and slow down the bleeding. So if we know that a patient needs more than 2 units of blood, this blood product can be administered, giving them that extra life-saving time that they need. All right, STAR's longest mission was flown last year, and it was Doug McTavish. He was hiking and hunting with a friend up in the rugged northern BC woods, and actually what happened was they drove to a location, got into a boat, went 5 hours up the river, hiked up the side of the mountain, and at this time Doug realized he was having a full-blown heart attack. So they had InReach radios and thankfully contacted one of their emergency contacts who contacted search and rescue. But because of the time of day, search and rescue was not able to go out because they knew it would be dark before they could complete the mission. And so, since they didn't have night vision goggles, STARS, they decided to give STARS a try. So the Emergency Link Center did some coordinating to see if they could pull off this mission, and got back to them and said, yes, we will dispatch from Grand Prairie. We're on our way. So from Grand Prairie, they flew to Fort Nelson to pick up, or to refuel. And from there, they went to Chi House where the patient was located. Now, this part was fairly tricky. It was a heavily wooded area, you know, as you can imagine in northern BC. And thankfully, the two fellas up on the mountain said, there's a spot down by the river where there's no trees. You could probably land there. So here it is nighttime. They managed to land, and all 4 crew members, because we fly with 2 pilots, a flight paramedic and a flight nurse, put packs on their back and went across the river, hiked up to where Doug was, assessed him. He was still doing okay at this point, and brought him down across the river into the helicopter. So at that point, they then flew to Watson Lake to refuel, back to Fort Nelson for fuel, and then to Grand Prairie. Then our STARS Transport medical team went with this patient by Alberta Health Services fixed wing plane to Edmonton. This is our longest mission ever, and Doug is doing very well today to be able to tell his story. 2,408 liters of fuel burned, 1,763 kilometers flown, 8.2 hours of flight time, and 5.3 hours with the patient. In the end, 1 life saved. So we're very proud of what our crew members can do, the extensive training they go through every year. They take on over 200 hours of additional training each year to hone their skills and to be able to come across different types of situations that might be unique so that they're prepared. So we thank the town of Taber very much for joining the municipal initiative. I was just thrilled when I heard the news, and like I said, I've really enjoyed getting to know the community. So here we are. We're almost a full regional partnership. Just last year, this partnership began. So thank you so much. Your partnership is everything. A life is saved every day, and you make it possible. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation, Jackie. Appreciate that very much. Very well done. Any questions arising for Jackie whatsoever? All right.
I have no questions, but I'd like to say what a great organization, and I don't think anyone here doesn't know what has benefited from STARS. And it's very valuable, and we're very grateful that we have that service.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. With that, someone prepared to make a motion.
Yes, and I would further add that thank you for making this a regular part of your budget by providing that per capita support on an annual basis. We really appreciate the sustainability that creates for STARS.
All right. Great. Thank you, Jackie. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. Thank you for coming to our community and just reinforcing how valuable your services are. And yeah, we'll hopefully see you more regularly now. With that, I'd like to make a motion to accept this as information.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you again, Jackie.
Thank you. I think that maybe in the summer I need to wear a sign that says I work for STARS, ask me questions, because I think a lot of people don't recognize me in my straw hat and sunglasses. All right, well,
That's
have a
right.
great evening, and thanks again.
Thank you, Jackie. You too.
When STARS comes into the hospital here, they come over to my house. Hear them every time they come in, and you're always sad to hear them coming in, but it's a chance of someone's life being saved, so it's quite something.
All right. All right, moving on to media inquiries. Mr. Tebow, anything?
I got nothing.
None whatsoever. All right, thank you. Moving on to two motions that came out of closed session. First is item 10.1, Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make the motion that council accepts the offer as presented for up to 9.66 acres of land at $100,000 per acre at 6997 50th Street, Tabor, and authorizes the mayor and CAO to sign the documents.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the item 10.2, Councillor Rumford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that council accepts the offer of $125,000 for lots 23 to 26 at 5503 47th Avenue as amended, and authorize the mayor and CAO to sign the document.
All right, very well. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Just a motion to close the meeting, please. Councillor Firth. Motion on the table. All in favor?